Hey guys, I'm back at it with a brand new video for you, and welcome back to the Tribe of Dre92.com. Apparently I'm a nice guy, and I've got banners everywhere according to Mr. Zarko. Who knew? Meanwhile, welcome to episode 13 of our MotoGP Career Mode Let's Play. Last time out, we went to we went to Jerez in Argentina. And it didn't go too bad. It didn't go too great either. I mean, I got a podium in Jerez. Couldn't really get the front two in time. Argentina's probably my worst track on paper, so I still managed to get in the top 6, so I'm quite happy with that overall. It's going to be a longer episode this time around because we're going to be doing a lot. We've got Le Mans, then Mugello, and then our first test session, probably with a new sponsor and whatnot. I'm trying to get those data packs racked up. So, yeah, this is probably going to be something in the region of a 45-minute episode, so here's hoping it works out quite nicely. But we're going to head off to round 5, which is Le Mans, one of the headlining premier, blue-collar tracks on the calendar. So here's hoping we can get back to winning ways after obviously a tremendous start to the season, getting 2 wins. We slipped a little bit. We're 9 points behind Johan Zarco in the battle for the championship at the moment, but we're 12 ahead of Sam Lowes in 3rd, which is also quite reassuring. Okay, so let's get started with that. Also, I'm going to catch up with some of your questions, which you left me back on episode 11. I'm sorry, it's been nearly a couple of weeks since I actually answered these. I just didn't get around to it, and I apologise for that. So, let's get right to it. Ryan Sandel asks, did you watch Brands Hatch's British Superbikes? If so, can you ever recall such a crash as what Stuart Easton encountered? So surprised he only came away with a broken leg. Yeah, I saw it. Hellacious accident, my god. Honestly, given the weekend that had just transpired with Jules Bianchi at the time, honestly, when I saw Easton fly off into the background, I thought he's a dead man. And I was like, no, not 2 weekends running. No, we can't have this. Luckily it was just a broken leg in the context of things, but that was a huge accident at Brands Hatch. About 160 miles an hour into that braking zone, so, yeah, not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. Luckily he's on the way to making a full recovery, which is good to see. Also, he asked, what did you think of the Suzuka 8 Hours and the unfortunate 5-lap comeback of Casey Stoner? I'm surprised I've not actually spoken about Casey's injury so far. I feel or basically talking about the race in general, because I completely forgot to talk about the Suzuka 8 Hours. And yeah, obviously a huge result for the Yamaha team of Bradley Smith and Paul Espargaro, who the first time down there, ended up winning the Suzuka 8 Hours. So, yeah, fantastic stuff. Congrats to Bradley, and another feather in the cap for what's been an incredible season for the kid. Top satellite rider in the world right now, and, thoroughly beaten Paul Espargaro left and right, including this weekend, which we'll get to. I mean, Casey Stoner's crash was a weird one. I mean, Honda had to come out on the record and admit that, it was their fault because their throttle had jammed open. And then Stoner just went wide, lost the front, and next thing you know, he was down. So, yeah, it was a very weird accident, and I'm almost saying as thank God Casey was okay, because it was a huge accident. And, Suzuka is not a track which is safe for bikes. It just isn't. It's way too close to the barriers, and, if somebody crashes on there, it could easily be fatal. And, Stoner was kind of lucky in that instance to say it was only an ankle and an arm, as opposed to being a hell of a lot worse. Again, context is important with these things. It's a shame because, Stoner, first competitive race in, 2 years? 3 years nearly. So, I'm glad that we were able to see him out there and just see him on a bike again, which was, that was just nice. But, yeah, I think that's probably the end of Casey Stoner's competitive bike career, which is a shame, really, because, Stoner is like the great what if of MotoGP, because he retired in his prime when he was just 26 years old, and God, that's annoying. And he was 26 years old, and he retired when he was in his prime. He retired when he was still easily good enough to compete with Lorenzo and Rossi and Pedrosa and the top runners at the time. Those are all really good guys, and I'm just kind of gutted that it never really worked out in that instance. It's yeah, Just got to answer the next question. I'm just going to get around these next couple of corners, and then I figures it's on my laptop screen, so I have to kind of tilt my head to the left to see the questions. So you're gonna have to bear with me on that one. Looks like we're really fast there. We're already right up with the leaders. Lowe, Zarco, and Rins in the leading pack. We're back kind of a little bit back there in fourth. I'm surprised I'm this good round Le Mans. Okay. Akeem Bristol asks, could you see anyone making the jump from Moto3 to MotoGP in the next 2 years? And if so, who and what team? Well, I guess now's a perfect time to talk about Danny Kent. Because the revelation going into the weekend was that Pramac, the Pramac Ducati team, has offered Danny Kent a 3-year MotoGP contract. So yeah, huge news, as you know. Well, Danny Kent leads the Moto3 Championship by 45 points at the moment, and so yeah, he's championship by 45 points, doing an exceptional job at the minute, and yeah, just jump in Moto2, going straight to MotoGP, probably to replace Yoni Hernandez. Hernandez is on a factory Ducati deal, so he'll probably just end up going to Avintia to partner Hector Barbera next year. So a team of Danilo Petrucci and Danny Kent seems like a pretty strong team to me. And yeah, it makes sense. The thing is, it makes more sense than Jack Miller's did, because Danny Kent already has Moto2 experience. He did a year with Tech 3 in 2013. And it just didn't work out. He thought going back to Moto3 was the better move. It probably was in hindsight. Tech 3 are never going to be a top flight, Moto2 team. They haven't got the money to compete in that category. So, it's like Danny Kent already has experience on more powerful bikes. That's a good thing. And in this instance, Kent, I don't see, I've always said it, if you can skip Moto2, I would take that option. Because in Moto2, you've got to be really good to stand out in Moto2. Moto2 has got a whole heap of experienced guys that are never going to be in MotoGP. Thomas Luthi, Dominique Agata, Simone Corsi, Tito Rabat, even though he probably will be in MotoGP next year, etc. You've got a bunch of very good, experienced riders in Moto2. And you know what? The class makes for a pretty good yardstick for the younger guys that are going to come through, like Alex Rins, Maverick Vinales, Alex Marquez, who had his best career result this weekend at Brno, which again I'll get to in a bit. But yeah, I don't see anybody else making that switch, because you know what? Danny Kent is having, at the moment, probably the best Moto3 season ever. And, one of the best third-class seasons we've ever seen. He's just been the dominant guy. I know the thing is he's not had a good run of form the last couple of rounds, because obviously they had the Leopard issue with the tyre change at Indianapolis, and then, again, he was kind of screwed by his team because he didn't have a fresh tyre for the restart, where everybody else did, so Danny Kent couldn't fight like he would normally want to fight in that lead, and pack ended up finishing in 7th. And, of course, Ennio Bastianini came in 2nd, so Kent's lead was 66 points 2 rounds ago. It's now 45. So all of a sudden, this championship might be back on. All of a sudden, the British Grand Prix in a couple of weeks' time is now going to be more of a pressure cooker race for Kent to win at home, as opposed to what may have been a champion's coronation if Kent's luck was a little bit better. So all of a sudden, Silverstone's not going to be the cakewalk he probably thought it was going to be. But I don't see anybody else doing that, because, you've got to be spectacular to do that in Moto3 now. And the difference is Jack Miller wasn't spectacular in the first place. And Moto3's too stacked. It just is. We've got guys like Miguel Oliveira, Romano Fenati, Ennio Bastianini. Efren Vasquez can win any given race. Masbu can win any given race. there's a lot of very, very fast dudes in the class, and to beat them consistently is not going to happen. Like, the field is too stacked, in my opinion, so we're going to have to wait and see on that one, but I don't see it anytime soon. Also, it looks like we're doing quite well here. Lap 4 of 7. Got it pretty clear. Gonna pause it just 1 second so I can look at the rest of the questions. Jack Zeno asks, when Dani Pedrosa retires from MotoGP, do you see Honda getting Alex Marquez? Honest answer, no. Because Alex Marquez is not his brother. I don't think Alex Marquez is good enough to justify that level of seat. He's not like his brother, who we all knew was going to be a freak talent. Like, you got to remember, like, Marc Marquez came into Moto2 as an 18-year-old and nearly won the championship as a rookie. If it wasn't for one, Stefan Bradl's ridiculously good start. Like Stefan Bradl's 2011 season played out pretty much like Jenson Button's 2009 F1 season, in the sense of Bradl started really strong, won a ton of the opening rounds, but then didn't win again the second half of the season. Then I think Marquez had 9 consecutive races on the podium, but then did not start in Malaysia, and that's why he probably didn't win the championship. That's probably the only reason why Marquez wasn't an 18-year-old Moto2 champion. Marquez is not in that same position, and the field is a better field now than it was back then. In 2011, who was 4th in the Moto2 championship? Alex DeAngelis. Yeah. It's not like how it was now, where the battle for second in the championship was actually looking pretty good between Rabat, Alex Rins, Frankie Morbidelli, Thomas Luthi, etc. Or Sam Lowes as well, he's in that category as well, the fight for second in the championship. Like, the problem is, there's not an obvious standout guy for that second Honda seat at the moment, and Pedrosa's probably going to leave that team at the end of next season, because that's when his contract expires, and, you know, he'll be 31 at that point, and I don't see why the team would hire him beyond that. I mean, surely you want to get some new marketing blood in there and give somebody else a chance, and wow, Rins just crashed from second, holy crap. So I'm trying to think who else would stand out to me in there. And I'm thinking, if they can poach him from Ducati, maybe Andrea Iannone is a second rider at Honda. I know Iannone and Marquez were rivals back in the day, but surely a factory Honda seat would be too good for him to pass up. I mean, I can always dream and say one day they'll put Lorenzo on a Honda, but Lorenzo's never going to leave the comfort zone of Yamaha. It's just too good a team for him, and it's the perfect team for a guy of Lorenzo's skill set. So, I don't see Marquez being that guy. I can see maybe Andrea Iannone being that guy one day. I don't see it being Crutchlow. Crutchlow's just too crash prone for me. Crutchlow will burn 100 points in retirements. That's his problem. Oh, come on, Lowe's. You've got to be able to beat Zarco, surely. Jesus. Do me a favour for the sake of the championship. Like, if Zarco finishes third, we're dead even in the championship again. That would be nice. Whoops, went a bit wide there. I was looking at my screen again. My bad, my bad. Hang on, another quick pause, just so I can see the questions again. Is it me, or was the open class more competitive against the factory of Elish and Scott? That's a good question. That is a good question. I think it was more down to the riders flattering the quality of the bikes they were on. Everyone and their mother had told me that the production Honda bike was terrible, but Redding was just being really good with it. Same with Alicia Spagaro. The production Yamaha wasn't a terrible bike. It was better than the production Honda, but Alicia was bringing it up because, I mean, but then again, I don't know how good a bike it really was when you consider that Alicia Spagaro's teammates were all terrible. Like, you had a 40-year-old Colin Edwards one year, and you had... Who was Alicia's other one? It was Randy de Punier, who was his other teammate when he was at Aspar. And, like, Randy was already about 4 years past his best when he was partnering with Alicia Spagaro on that team. Like, the one year Alicia's had a decent teammate, Maverick Vinales. And, you know, until this round where Maverick binned it, he's been consistently way better than Alicia Spargaro has been this season. So maybe the lack of competition has overrated Alicia Spargaro to a degree. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. As for Reddin, well, I'd like to put it more down to the fact that 2015 Honda is just a bad bike, but Reddin has done very little to justify the ridiculous amount of investment that the team's put into him. Like, Michael Bartolome has said he still thinks Reddin will come good. For his sake, I can only hope he's right, because at the moment, the signs aren't looking too good, because, you know, Reddin's probably going to score less points this year than he did when he was with the production Honda last year at Gresini, which is mind-boggling when you put it into context that he's now on the same bike effectively that Danny Pedrosa's on, and, you know, Reddin is you know, not finishing in the top 10 regularly, like he was 12th at Brno. But yeah, I think that's all the questions. I'll double check them once I finish the race, but it looks like we're going to take the win here pretty comfortably. In the end, I mean, I love Le Mans, so I'm glad I was able to win around here. And this Tech 3 does feel pretty good to ride. I didn't have to push as hard as I normally do, which is also quite nice. Because, remember the Jerez race on the last episode? That was me pushing hard. And I had to really be at 100% to beat Alex Rins like I did in that one. And I'm very glad I did. I don't normally push it so hard, because I have to talk at the same time, and that can be difficult. But, there we go. We take the win at Le Mans. Awesome. Also, one more question from Boo. I actually didn't ask him, but Boo Ra. Do you think that the title race will go to the last race of the season? Probably. Like, it's a situation where Lorenzo and Rossi are just going back and forth all the time, so no one's really able to land a killer blow against the other one at the moment. So it's just going to go back and forth. So by default, the title will probably go to the final round. I don't see Lorenzo breaking off a 25-point lead between now and the end of the season. Like, given that the Yamaha, the thing is, it would take something pretty freaky to happen. Like, it will probably take something like Marquez trolling somebody in order for that not to be a thing. Because both Yamaha riders are super consistent. Rossi's on a streak of, I think, 15 consecutive podiums at the moment. Lorenzo has the high upside where Lorenzo can probably win any given round if he wants to. And, you know, if Lorenzo has a good day, he probably wins between him and Marquez. I'd say Lorenzo and Marquez are the only two guys in the field who can win any given Grand Prix. Rossi can't do that. With Rossi, we're talking about a guy that's won like 6 races in the last 3 seasons since he's come back with Yamaha, and you're telling me Rossi can win any round? Rossi has to bank on his consistency, but the problem is it's not good enough because, you know, in MotoGP, the way the scoring system works, you're more favoured if you win. You got to win, and Rossi's got 3 wins, and I think a lot of that was down to luck, to be honest with you. And, you know, Argentina, he was very lucky that Marquez had the wrong tyre on his bike, because Marquez loves Argentina. So he won that one. He was fortunate to win at Qatar, given that Dovi was only a 10th behind him that day. And at Assen, Rossi deserved the win there, so I'll give him that one. But Lorenzo's won 5 rounds to Rossi's 3. So despite the championship lead being equal, it's more like Lorenzo having a half-point lead, because on count back, Lorenzo is championship leader. Would you believe it's the first time Lorenzo's been championship leader in like 2.5 years? Scary, isn't it? How you think a guy of Lorenzo's quality has not led the championship for ages. And now, that's bad news for Marquez, because he's now going to have to start taking points out of Lorenzo if he wants the championship lead. And Lorenzo is a harder guy to beat on any given weekend than Rossi is, in my opinion. So, yeah, it's not the most ideal situation. While this loads up, I'm going to just check episode 12 for any viewer questions, and I only got 4 comments on the video. Maybe the sub box wasn't. Maybe sub boxes weren't working. Question: intro song it's called The Light. It's part of No Copyright Sounds. That's my intro music. I know a lot of people ask me about this. It's probably my most frequently asked question. Dre, what's the name of your intro song? That is it. Look it up on No Copyright Sounds. It's copyright free, so you can use it in your videos too. And Motorsport Fan 98 asked me, Dre, who is your favourite MotoGP rider? Probably Marc Marquez, to be honest with you. It used to be Crutchlow, but Crutchlow just comes across like more and more of a dick the more I listen to him talk, to be honest with you. The things he said about Tommy Bridewell was very classless. You may know British Superbike rider Tommy Bridewell, and basically he uses the number 46 in tribute to his hero Valentino Rossi. Carl Crutchlow called him out on that and basically called him a copycat, which I thought was very classless of him. And he said, "Oh yeah, you're praying over the pegs, you're copying him, be original." And without realizing that Bridewell does that tribute because of his brother who died in an accident. So I thought that was incredibly classless from Cal to come out with and say. A complete dickhead comment, went way too far. Completely unnecessary in my opinion. And yeah, I've kind of gone off Crutchlow because of that. I'm a big fan of Alicia Spagaro too. Cool guy. I've always admired him. But Marquez is probably my favourite guy, to be honest with you. I know it seems like a bit of a glory hunter statement, but he is a very cool ambassador for the sport. Very happy-go-lucky, always smiling. Marquez works very hard, is a demon to watch, and you know, thing is, I've always found Rossi a bit obnoxious now and again, and a little bit fake with some of his celebrations and, you know, things he comes out with. So I've never particularly been a massive Rossi fan. Like, I grew up in a house of Rossi fans, believe it or not. Like, you may find that hard to believe, but yeah, my brother is a huge Rossi fan. My dad grew up a huge Rossi fan. And me, I was the guy supporting Sete Gibernau back in those days. I was a Kenny Roberts fan first until he retired. Then I started supporting... Well, I didn't really have anybody to support. Well, I was Kenny Roberts, then it was Sete Gibernau to a degree, because I loved the Telefonica movie star Honda he was on, one of my favourite bikes of all time. So him and Melandri were like really cool guys I used to like back then as well. So that was a thing. And more recently, I didn't really support anybody. My brothers like seemed to think I supported Nicky Hayden, and I don't know where that came from, as I've never been a huge Hayden fan. Even though I actually quite like Nicky Hayden. Great character. But you know. Like, I used to like Crutchlow for being honest, and then I used to realise he's just kind of a dick, really. Far less likeable on paper. So yeah, I like Marquez. I like his work ethic. I like his riding style. He's great entertainment to watch. He always makes things interesting. Like, people say, "Oh, Dre, why don't you rate Lorenzo?" And I'm like, dude, I think Lorenzo's probably the like the top 2 rider in the world, and probably the rider of the decade so far, Lorenzo. Like, ever since 2010, he's made that Yamaha team his own, and I've got to give him props for that. But, you know, I've never found Lorenzo captivating. He bores me. He just does. Lorenzo tends to win unexciting races from the front. And he's not really got much of a personality outside of that, except jumping on the podium whenever he wins. Like, that's the extent of Jorge Lorenzo's charisma. That's as good as it gets. I've never really liked him as a result of that. It's like, he's a very hard guy to root for, and he complains a lot. It's not a good combination. But, yeah, that's all the questions. Whoa. Thanks everybody who sent them in. But, yeah, let's talk about Brno, shall we? And, yeah, shocker. Lorenzo won from the front. Yeah, it always looked like it was going to be a Lorenzo win in the end. Like, he was the fastest guy out there for many, many rounds. You know, the practice, he looks super fast. In qualifying, he broke the lap record. The first ever 154 lap of Brno. You know, he just led from the front, and, you know, Marquez took the smart call, take the easy second. You know, beating Valentino Rossi. You know, because, you know, even that, all you have to do was beat Rossi and he gains overall. So that's exactly what he did, to be fair. Now he's got to beat Lorenzo more often. I think Marquez knows that. But, you know, it wasn't a particularly great race. I have to give a huge amount of respect to Dani Pedrosa, riding how he did to 5th place with a, you know, a very, very heavily contorted foot. It wasn't a lot of pain after his bike fell on his foot after a coolant leak made him fall, because Dani Pedrosa is the unluckiest bike rider ever to exist. I just don't get how one guy can be so unlucky. But, you know, unfortunate, but, you know, a great performance from to finish in 5th, given the context of his damaged foot. Whoops, went very wide there. Incredible performance, and, you know, much respect for Dani for that, because he could have taken the weekend off, and I don't think anybody would have blamed him. He was in a lot of pain. He was, after qualifying, I saw him limping off the bike, and he was visibly limping. He could barely put any weight on his foot at all. And that's the foot he changes gear with. So, imagine, like, you're in pain every time you take a gear change, and Brno being in a 22-lap race, it's a bit like, apparently it's something like 700 gear changes in the course of the race. Nuts. So yeah, props to him there, that's concerned. And yeah, kind of a boring race though, to be honest. Not particularly great. Moto 2 wasn't too bad. Again, similar kind of mediocre race, really. Johan Zarco taking the win, you know, in controlling fashion. Rabat never really had an answer for him. Rins was third, nearly got second at the end there with a late comeback. Rabat had to kind of pay attention right at the end, and it worked out alright for him. What are you doing, brother, on?
What's up?
Not too much. Just going over what happened at Brno.
Oh. What topic are you on?
Huh?
What topic are you on?
Moto 2.
Moto 2. Oh, man. Because if people don't know, I'm a massive Alex Marquez advocate. I'm a big fan of his, and literally the house went wild when...
Yeah, Alex Marquez finishing 4th.
I think... I'm not going to act like... I'm kind of a little bit biased here. I'm a fan of his. But I think a lot of people wanted this to happen. I think this is very long overdue, because I think a lot of people had those two as rivals from the get-go. As the two Alexes, the history between those two as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just a case of that. I think a lot of people wanted to see the two best young prospects from Moto 3 last year. Sorry, Jack Miller. Battle it out on the two best teams available and just dice it out.
Yeah, that's a very fair statement. If this felt like Alex Marquez kind of turned the corner with that performance, he needed something like that, in my opinion. You know, a bunch of, like I said, a couple of top 10s, but you know, needed a real breakout performance like that, and that's kind of what it was. Especially given Alex Rins showed the high upside immediately. He adapted to Moto 2 faster than Alex has. I don't know whether this was just a one-off, whether it's going to be the sign of better things for him. Let's have to wait and see.
The term "bust" was lurking around Alex Marquez for his entire season. A lot of people had him as the dark horse of winning the championship, and I think a lot of people are very high on his ability. But when he turned out to not really hit the ground running, unlike Rins was, I think a lot of people were like, "Oh, he's a bust. He's gonna be another guy in Moto 2. You know, Louis Salom." And
trust me, once you accept the fact that Alex Marquez is not his brother,
yeah, it's a lot easier to think about. It's just like, you know what, you've got to judge him as Alex Marquez, not Marc Marquez's brother, because not everyone's gonna replicate the same amount of ability as the naturally gifted rider to ever ride a bike.
Yep, that's fair.
Exactly.
Anyway, moving on to Moto 3 as well, real quick. Niccolo Antonelli got his very first Moto 3 win. It was a shortened race, only 12 laps long, because there was a big accident on lap 1 in the original start. I think a bike landed on Gabriel Rodrigo and knocked him out, but luckily he's okay. He's been released from hospital. Just an overnight stay, because it was a mandatory overnight hospital stay because he fell unconscious during the race. So, mandatory 24-hour checkup. He's fine. He's out. He's going to be back at Silverstone. So you know, get well soon, Gabriel. Hopefully nothing too bad. But yeah, it was Niccolo Antonelli, a guy that didn't even have his first podium yet, finally getting his first win. Broke off on the last lap beautifully there, and to take the win over Enea Bastianini in second as well. And who was third again in that race? I'm trying to remember who it was. I've forgotten. He'll come to me later. But yeah, a brilliant performance from Antonelli. The resemblance between him and Marco Simoncelli is like uncanny. It's ridiculous how similar they look. It's quite scary in that sense. But yeah, you know, Danny Kent down in 7th. Danny was not happy again. Didn't have a fresh tyre for the restart. And all of a sudden, like I said, the championship looks a bit more interesting now that Kent had a 66-point lead. It's now 45. And, you know, Silverstone is coming, and I know it's a home track for Kent, and Kent's got his own grandstand coming in very soon. But, I don't know, man. It's like, all of a sudden, it's like Kent's got a bit of pressure on him all of a sudden, because, you know, he no longer has that 2.5 race cushion he had. He's now less than 2 races in hand. All it would take would be for one Danny Kent drop, and the season gets a lot more interesting now. Because you know what? It's one thing getting that Pramac seat, it's another thing potentially choking away a 60-point lead. That could be quite scary for Danny. So he's going to have to, you know, hustle up, get his head back in the game. We all know Kent's the best rider in the class. We all know he's stupidly fast. And he's the only guy in Moto3 that can break off a lead if he's at the front and if he's fast enough. So, well, we're just going to have to wait and see on that one. But, we'll have to wait and see what goes on there. But, yeah. Moto3 was a fantastic race, as it tends to be, as usual. Brilliant race in Moto3. Moto2 and GP were a bit boring, to be honest with you. Not a lot went on in them, really, which is kind of a shame. But Brno doesn't tend to produce exciting MotoGP races, to be honest with you. It's kind of a really, you know, stop-starty track. But it's really popular. 250,000 fans for Brno at the race, and they just signed a new 5-year extension, which is fantastic news. So, you know, props to them on that regard. That's a really, really amazing thing to have that many fans show up to Brno, and I'm glad it's still on the calendar, because it looks like Indianapolis is going to make way for what's it now, for the Red Bull Ring next year in Austria. So that's what's probably going to be the switch. And I'm looking forward to seeing how MotoGP holds up in Austria too. That should be fun. Last lap here at Mugello. We're looking good for another win. And I was always going to try and win at Mugello. It's my favourite track in this game. People are saying they'd rather have this on the F1 calendar over Monza. And I'm like, where would cars pass around here? That's the problem. You know what F1 cars are like. But, yeah. Love Mugello. Love, love, love Mugello. Just got to bring this round here now. Also, I've got to say, one more thing as well regarding Brno's weekend. Anyone else watched on BT Sport? How fucking shit was Keith Hewen's commentary? Oh my god. Like, Hewen's never been a saint, but my god, he was so terrible this weekend. Made so many mistakes and made so many incompetent statements. Saying things like he was gushing over Sam Lowe starting 15th and finishing 5th. While trashing Romano Fenati, who started 22nd and finished in 6th. Acting surprised that, you know, Fenati didn't qualify in the top 10. Like, people, Fenati has never been a great qualifier. Why are you still surprised he qualified so low and brought it back in the race? That's what Fenati almost always does. It's so stupid. Just dumb comments like that really got on my nerves. Like, let's just say I'm really, really glad. Like, I just say I'm really, really glad that Toby Moody's coming back for Silverstone in 2 weeks' time, because he is by far a better commentator. And if anyone ever watched MotoGP when it was on Eurosport back in the day, British Eurosport, Yeah, the commentary team of Toby Moody and Julian Ryder was amazing. Seriously. Just the best. We're up to 500,000 credits now. Nice.
You can understand his delight at this result. It's not just about winning at this circuit, but he's beaten riders of proven talent.
But yeah, 4th win of the season, and we're now championship leader again by 1 point. So I'm very happy with that. I will gladly take that. Here's hoping that we can keep this going. But yeah, time for a test and to choose another sponsor. Hopefully we'll get a top tier sponsor next time around. One can only hope. Because it's normally at Mugello where you test this stuff out. Wait for it. Wait for it. There it is. Okay, so we have the maximum offer from Team Alpenstein, which is the maximum sponsor bonus. Oh, look at that. The Pons team is offering me a contract. Oh, that's annoying, because I love the Pons team. And why do they have Louis Salom with a better AI rating than Alex Rins? That's bullshit. Salom has been such a disappointment since he got to Moto2. Team Oakley, Mark VDS. Oh, and they got Rabat and Marquez down there. Oh, that's so annoying. And they've got Moto2 and Moto3 offers as well from everybody else. Yeah, I'm going to take the Alpine Stars contract on this one, so we're going to get the maximum sponsor bonus. Hopefully we can change that terrible livery of ours. How long's the video gone on for already? 36 minutes. Okay, I'm going to quickly get this test out of the way, hopefully. I will have a new livery by the time this rolls up. So by the time the next episode comes around, I will definitely have had a new livery, because I know people said that my current one's a bit boring. It is, I know, trust me. It's such an awkward sponsor to have on the bike. It just doesn't really work. Trust me, I'll get it sorted out for next time. Promise. Okie doke. Got a spare data pack, so I'll get a suspension on that. Okie doke. Right. What time we got to beat here? 156.4. That shouldn't be too much of a problem. But we're already up to 500,000 credits, which is also great news as well, because like I said, it was Jake Callahan's idea, which was a really good idea in the sense of just, oh, don't bother buying a Calex, just use the Tech 3 you're on now, try and win the title on it, and on top of that, you could also try, get saving up for a really good MotoGP bike right away, and I kind of agree with that, and I'm eyeing up that Ducati. I kind of want that Ducati GP15. It's a beautiful looking bike. I'd love to have that to myself. So keep half an eye on that. I'm looking forward to that. But yeah, another lap of Mugello. Not complaining at all. It's annoying, man. I'm getting like top Moto2 offers across the board now, and it's like, but my team, man, my team. Hopefully I'll go back to playing F1 soon as well. I've kind of been neglecting my F1 series a little bit. Like, I'm not gonna lie, my series is not particularly original by any stretch and not particularly special, but hey, you're watching for me, so hopefully I'll provide some decent commentary at least. That should be quite fun, right? Also, good news, I have pre-ordered Forza Motorsport 6. So I just got to wait, and you know what? Also, it was pre-ordered. I pre-ordered the Ultimate Edition, which means I get early access to it on September 10th as opposed to September 18th, which is the general release. So, yeah, I can't wait to give that a try. All the pre-order bonuses and whatnot as well. I'm a huge Forza fan, always have been. I've got like 8,000, like nearly 8,000 points on the Forza hubs. I'm one of the hardcore players out there. So, yeah, I've pre-ordered that. It cost me 82 quid. That was a shit ton of money. But I don't care because it was awesome. That should be enough. Yep, 55. I think that's 55.5. Yep, 55.5. So that's another 3 data packs collected. Excellent. So yeah, next time out, we're going to be heading over to Catalonia. That should be fun. So Catalonia and then Assen, I think it is. Another 2 rounds I'm pretty good around. So here's hopefully we can start to turn the screw in this championship a little bit and try and put some pressure on Zarco. Because I've won 4 out of the 6 rounds so far this season, and I'm only leading the championship by 1 point because of how consistent Zarco is. You know how annoying that is? Riders don't have bad races in this game. If you're a top tier guy like Zarco, you will not finish any given race lower than 3rd unless you drop. And that's really annoying. Let's just see how that holds up. But in the meantime, I've been Harrison101. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the episode, and we'll catch you guys next time. Sayonara.